Good morning, YouTube. Mojismo Eugene. Another video from Exit Strategy. Welcome. It's pretty early for me to be out. I just dropped the kids off to school. And so I decided to get out. And as they say, the early bird catches the worm. So, while this is fresh on my mind, I want to talk to you guys about the Narcissist. Expedited your awakening, but God is going to accelerate your healing. Today, I myself am going to give thanks to two things, or for two things. I'm going to give thanks for the narcissist coming in my life in the way that awakened me. It was only God that used them. Only God. And I want to give thanks to God for his mercy, for seeing some worth in me, worth in a human being like me that's not worthy, that he saw fit to awaken me and give me the insight of what I was dealing with and am dealing with on a daily basis by way of the evil, dark spirits in the world. I don't know today, guys, if you realize it, but you have a superpower in the sense of how we see superpowers in the movies and, superheroes. You have a superpower that, I don't know if I was asking them whether I could come by. But you have a superpower that most people in the world are clueless about. That's why they look at you the way they look at you, because you possess something that they don't. Even before you awaken, you have possession of a superpower. It's called authenticity, intuition, and excuse me, guys, let's wait for a while. Let me pass this truck. Good morning, guys. Thank you. So anyway, they dredging the ditches. They dredging. I don't know if you guys know what I call it dredging, but trenching the ditch. And it's pretty smart while they got the time. There's no snow. The culverts, they're cleaning the culverts, and that's called a culvert, not a covert. Could be a covert too. Very subtle, the covert narcissist. Yeah, that's what they're doing right there. I'm gonna give you a shot of that. Yeah, that's what they're doing. But all right, you guys maybe I can keep your attention. There's some beautiful sights in upstate New York here, man. I mean, I haven't always said that, but today I'm just gonna appreciate it. This is the day the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it. And I remember that church song. I used to get really excited to sing that because I felt that in my bones. I'm going through the church. Yeah, this is what we doing. You know me, guys. I'm always, I'm an adventurous person. I think about things on the fly. I'm always all over the place, I guess. But I'm in the place that I'm supposed to be. And so, yeah. This is something that we could have not done on our own. I mean, you may not have that mindset right now, but today I hope and pray that you can grasp that concept or that idea and that truth, because it is the hand of God that awakened us. Because as you may know, this is a thing that only few people have been able to both awaken from, grasp and awaken from, and go on to be a human being that was able to flourish and continue through life and be productive in life. And I'm one of those, I want to believe, because I'm going to tell you a little bit of my story again, because there are some people that are watching this morning that are new. I'm 53 years old. I'll be 54 September 1st. It's probably too much information, but as you know, we're an open book. And that's our saving grace too, because at the end of the day, when the narcissists take us through everything they take us through, our truth never changes. Doesn't matter how much they smear us. We've already given our truth to so many people. And there are people that are doubtful of what the narcissist is saying. They just can't really bring themselves to admit that. But in time, God will convince everyone who are duped and deceived by these demons that they are in fact the guilty ones. As far as the lie goes, we're all guilty in the sight of God, okay? Just want to give perspective to that. So, yeah, 53, I'll be 54. I talk about getting hit and ran over 2 years ago by a vehicle. And nearly could have killed me. And I'm walking, as you can see, with minimal discomfort. I have my leg, my knee, left knee's damaged a lot. Had surgery on the meniscus. From a 1 to a 10, I'll say I'm about a 7, 8, because the arthritis in my age in the knees and just the joint areas is something that just goes along with the territory of aging. And besides that, you know, when I was younger, you know, beating my body up, you know, working and not healing appropriately. So it catches up with you. So, yeah, even before the car accident, I can tell you some stories, and I'll go way back, and I'm going to speed it up, expedite it in a condensed form if I can. As you guys know, when I grew up, you know, my father was very abusive to my mom. You know, everyone says he was a decent man, but when he drank, he turned into something different. I guess we all have that to say about a family member. And oftentimes when family members either die, pass away tragically, or in any sense, or just age out and pass away, we often always say they were a good person. We always capture the goodness. We never go on and on and on about how terrible they behaved, because we don't want to ruffle any feathers. So even our truth gets bogged down in the hustle and bustle of all the lies of other people telling them. So we don't want to go against the flow like down there. I don't know if you guys can hear that water. This is beautiful. I'm glad I'm able to give you guys this stuff here, because this is magic. And I don't believe in magic, but you get my point. See, just saying things like that, you know, I always want to give a disclosure, full disclosure on that, because I don't believe in luck, magic, any of that craziness. But we say that stuff, so form of expression, figure of speech. So, you know, I tell the story about how I wet the bed till I was like 17, maybe even 18 years old. This is until I was in the 12th grade. Might not have been every day, but it was frequent. And that was something that was very hidden, you know. I was shy. I won't say I had low self-esteem looking back, because I don't really want to, I don't, you know, if I think a little bit about that, I don't believe I was, but I could have been. Yeah, I guess, generally speaking, I had low self-esteem, you know, but something down inside of my spirit inspired me to people please. That's probably what made me combat the low self-esteem. I was eager to blend in and be a part of all things good. Fortunately, I didn't gravitate towards negativity. And I think God had his hands on me. And a lot of you empaths and chosen ones, you're not wired that way to just go on to do rebellious things. If you do, it never works out for us, and thank God for that. The rebellious stuff we do, it always shoots us in the foot. We get caught. Doesn't pan out for us. And I know some of you guys can look back at your life and say, man, everybody else did that. As soon as I did it, I got caught. Didn't work for me. I grew up, got out of high school. I tell you guys the story of a bully. He essentially used to bully everybody in school. Everyone who would take it or accept it, or he thought he could. There were some people that just didn't play that. And I can look back and even see some of the people that he didn't bully. They were the enablers. They were the encouragers, silently or verbally, even with their expressions of laughter. This is how we encourage bad behavior. You give your endorsement either by your expression, your lack of interaction, meaning you support it silently. You don't say anything. You don't speak against it. You give that person your seal of approval by not speaking against it, not disengaging from that atmosphere or that space, leaving that narcissist bully there all by himself. Because a bully needs an audience. A bully needs an audience to do what they do. And apparently, obviously, when you're in the household with these bullies, you are the audience. If they can get you to pay attention to the foolishness and start to acting like it matters what they say in their opinion, if you tune them out, man, when you tune them out, you know that's kryptonite to them. They cannot regulate. They lose their darn mind when you just tune them out. So, this guy I went to school with, he bullied, threw some rocks on the bus, get a handful of rocks, start throwing them. Everybody's facing forward. He's hitting different people behind the head with the rocks. He had been doing this days prior, maybe even weeks. I'd never had my father in my life. As I said, he was very abusive to my mom. My mom finally got the courage by way of my dad's dad, her father-in-law. Bless his heart, God bless his soul. He's passed away. So was my grandma, my dad's mom and dad. They was beautiful people. I think my grandpa had probably a hidden narcissism. He was very quiet, big, tall guy, gentle giant, as it would seem. I've never seen him raise his voice. But I think his narcissism may have came in the form of he was always drunk. He used to sell moonshine. And this is just a hunch. I've never seen him act out or behave in a way that I believe was disrespectful to my grandma. But coverts never really show their hand to the people they want to appreciate them and hold them in high esteem or high regard. They're very sneaky with it. I'm just guessing because my father, I will always believe, was a narcissist. He had a need for speed. He was a Mason. He was in the Freemason. I think he got to the 33rd degree. That's what someone said. I don't know how true that is, but he was way up to the top. He got so bad in life to where I think the Masons discommunicated him as if there was a thing of kicking you out. And I think it happens in rare cases. You have to really be an atrocity, a bumbling, stumbling retard, because this organization protects. So I don't know what he did, or I do know what he did. He just used that badge to go around wreaking havoc. He shot a guy in the leg for putting too much dirt on the dump truck. They say they asked him to don't overload the dump truck because he worked on the county, pretty much like those guys I just passed doing work, and he was like a foreman, right up under the county commission. All these good things and qualities and positions my dad had, he ruined everything. And this is just stories I've been told. People feared my dad, and when they found out that I was his son, they was laughing and heckling. I can remember some of those instances. They, ha ha ha, and, heckling, and as adults used to meddle the little kids sometimes, they be drunk, just finding something to clown about. And by happenstance, hey, who your daddy? And I say, George, you. And I tell him, and he said, oh man. He said, oh boy. You could just see them recoil. It's just whatever they were doing to torment or tease me, it ceased. It ceased. And it's hard to to believe an accurate account of what people say, because I don't endorse any bad behavior and all these things they used to say in respects to him being this guy that didn't play around. It wasn't a term of endearment for certain, but somewhere down in my bones, I felt a little bit of confidence. I felt like a lion. Because that's my dad. That's who he is. He got courage. That's how I looked at it. I didn't look at all the negative things associated with him. I just knew he had the respect of the people that knew him, whether it was forced or deserved. And I'm young, 7, 8, 9 years old. My mom divorced him or left him when I was 5. Going back to the story, I remember a night, I remember it vaguely. He used to always come home drunk, wake my mama up, shake her. I lived in a mobile home. He'd wake her up when he'd open that door, and I could smell the cologne on his body with the sweat and the alcohol. Those 3 things in the air, I think going to traumatize me, because I knew what followed. Even though you're a little kid, you systematically know what follows. Door slams, perfume or cologne, sweat and alcohol, and mommy yelling and screaming and fighting. This is the domestic violence on a regular. And children grow up in this environment and have to put the pieces together as they age up. So I'm going back and forth, guys, but follow me. This is story time. I don't want to leave anything out, so I'll bounce around a little bit. I'll go back to the bullying school. So he'd come home and wake my mom up to normally wake her up to cook him something, or to warm the food up that she's made earlier that day that he didn't come home to eat, because after work he goes and hangs out with his buddy. A lot of these guys that got beautiful homes and decent homes and wives that care about them, faithful and love them as much as they humanly possibly can. A lot of times guys will take advantage of that, and they won't even appreciate it, and they become very, very, very arrogant, so much so they don't even have to check in with their wife, they think. But we let the wife get out of work and has to go by the store and get eggs that she forgot that she needed to bake a cake and make some dinner for the family. She will have to pay overtime for that. And I've heard women here talk about how atrocious their relationships with narcissist men was. So it goes both ways, guys. I talk more about the women narcissists, but obviously I'm a man. I've never really experienced much by way of these idiots, but it happens. So he would wake her up, ask her to fix something to eat, then he would go and she would sit there on the couch, and he would look over there, as drunk as he is, could barely utter a word. Like, what are you doing sitting up? She's like, I'm gonna sit up and wait until the food is done, because I don't want it to burn. She wouldn't say directly that, because you're gonna fall asleep and it's gonna burn, and then we end up having the fire alarms waking the kids up. So she would say that, because if she didn't say something, he'd smack her. If she did tell him while she was sitting there, she's still damned. And if she didn't say anything, he would assume and probably just hit her just for sitting there in the room with him, like a loving wife should. So he's lucky she stomachs him coming home 1, 2 in the morning and don't reprimand him and question him where he's been. I'm gonna show you something, guys. Let me speed this up. So this one particular time, I remember it vaguely, as I was saying earlier before I got into that. I remember my grandfather. It was kind of like, I don't know if I can go this way, my knees. I'll try. He said, I remember in so many ways he said, hey, he said, she leaving, Jordan, and you better not touch her, and if you do, I'll kill you. This is what his father told him. Because I think he had got sick and tired and getting woke up in, in the nighttime, having to go babysit. Because my mom oftentimes would run out of the house, probably nearly escaping her life to go over and tell my grandfather. All right, guys, I'm trying to scale this. Okay. Go over and tell somebody to come help her. Because George done lost his mind again. Okay. So, he got sick of it. He said, you touch her, she leaving you. You touch her, I'll kill you. That was the day my mom left. Never returned. I think she probably went back a couple times. Who knows? I want to believe she did. Probably many times. We know 7 is the average time that a person goes back to the narcissist. So, I am grateful that I didn't live with this man for no longer than I did. My mom separated from him, eventually divorced him. He used to come and pick us up occasionally. I can remember when he would drop us back off, we were happy to be with him, I guess. All that's really a fog. But when he dropped us off, I think he'd give all us $1 or $2. And we just thought that was something. We'd always anticipate getting $1. Sad to say, but that's probably most of what we remember. Getting $1 or $2, whatever it was. So, that's why I say, you guys who are listening to this video, I want to be your inspiration today. I'm living proof. If I don't belabor this story too long, because there's layers. So anyway, she left him. In 1983, 82, 83, I was 12, 13 years old. We had the news on, local news, and it showed my father being led off in handcuffs for the murder of a local store owner in the town we lived in. Story is, my dad had been barred from the store for coming in there on several occasions drunk, being unruly, loud, disrespectful. So he asked him to not come in the store. So he was essentially barred, verbally barred. I don't know if police intervened back then or not, but he wasn't allowed to go in the store. Being a little town, this guy was wealthy, middle class store owner. Very well known in the community, almost like my dad, but difference is he had the admiration and respect, the store owner did. My dad had the respect pretty much out of fear of who he was, and the minions and the codependents and hyenas and flying monkeys were the only one that held my dad in esteem, and the cult leaders from the Masons, the ones who still found some worth in him. So anyway, when they can't use you anymore in these cults, man, they get rid of you. So they excommunicated his behind when he caught that charge. Because I think, and he murdered that store owner was also a Mason. That goes against the grain. That's crazy. There's a lot of people in your community who are Masons, and most of the time, and I'm gonna speak on it, because when I went to jail or prison, I'm speeding the story up, but I saw him on that news get handcuffed off to jail for murder. He had the death penalty. Him and my cousin, who I knew very little about, that came from Florida, hanging out with my dad. They stopped by this store that my dad was barred from. He somehow encouraged and convinced my dad to get out. He said, oh, that's been on a year or something. He's forgot about that. You can come on in, you spending your money, blah, blah, however it went. So he enticed my dad to go in. And because he was with his cousin and drunk, he'd go in. Right away, the store owner tells him, reminds him, hey, I told you not to come in the store. Cousin intervenes, hey, what the deal, blah, blah. See, this is what you call boosting somebody up. Don't allow people to boost you up. When somebody's told you not to do something, I don't care if you got your mama going in the store. Follow the rules, man. Don't let anybody entice you in a pit. So it went back and forth when they got detained and arrested. They were talking about he pulled the trigger and they was going pointing fingers back and forth. I think my cousin got to the state attorneys first, and he got a deal. You know how that game go. So my daddy had the death penalty for this act. Some years later, my uncles and aunts, his father, at that time they were alive, my grandma and grandma, they put some land and money together. It's all arid land back home. Nobody can sell it independently. You have to, the oldest 3 living have to, all 3 sign papers and whatever. So anyway, in this case, the family was alive and they did what they had to do to get a good lawyer, and they reduced it to life with the possibility of parole. At that time, my dad had the death penalty. That's when they had the electric chair back in Alabama. They would electrocute you. And they called it Sparky. And now they put lethal injection. I've been reading something. Now they're using a different type of injection as opposed to what they've been most recently using. They're always trying to improvise and modify how they kill you. So anyway, they didn't kill him. He was able to do 30-something years in prison, got out 86 years ago, and he passed away maybe 2-3 years after he was out. I never physically got to see him in person. My oldest sister FaceTimed and me and stuck the phone in front of him, not telling me that he didn't call me or tell me, you want to speak to Dad, FaceTime. So she just put him in my face, and I can remember telling him, just like I'm saying now, I say, man, it's nice to see you're out. I'm grown. I done went through everything, ups and downs, no guidance, whatever, just the people in my community, the ones I did appreciate. But, I was influenced, very influential by people. So I made some mistakes, but all in all, it worked out for me. So I said, man, listen, I'm glad to see that you're out. And I'm talking to him almost like I'm talking to one guy talking to another. I don't even feel like a son talking to him. So I say, man, good to see you out. I said, but your best life is ahead of you. I said, the only thing I can ask is you just give your life and put your faith in God, man. And I meant that. That wasn't even no religious spiel, because I was actually encouraging him to do what I've done. So, man, give your life to God and just enjoy the world around you. And I said, I love you, man. We talked for a few minutes, then I let him go. And so after that, I didn't have a conversation with him after that. I wasn't mad at him or mean. Just there's no communication. I never knew him, so I ended up going to prison myself. I was talking to you about the guy throwing the rocks, the bully on the bus. Days before, I'd already premeditated or made a decision in my mind that I was going to defend myself. Remember I told you, hearing those things about my dad, I knew that was my dad. He had courage. I'm going to have courage. And so I ended up sneaking my uncle's, it was called, a dagger knife, sharpened on both sides. I don't know, I was just snooping around my uncle's house. I loved my uncle to death. He's still alive. That guy would do anything for me, my Uncle Robert. And so I ended up getting this, I happened upon this dagger in a sheath, leather holster. So I take it to school. I have every intention of this guy hits me again with these rocks, I'm gonna stab him. I'm on beast mode. Man, that's murder. But I ain't thinking like that. I'm 17, a few weeks before finals for graduation. And I'm set to graduate, I'm pretty sure. I wasn't no A student, but I'm sure I was gonna graduate with some D's or some C's. I think I was an A student in English. I had a beautiful English teacher. So, guys tend to excel when they got a beautiful teacher. So anyway, I ended up, he threw the rock and hit me. He threw the rock and hit me. And I gets up and I go to the back of the bus. And I say, in my mind, I ain't talking, I'm heading to the back with this knife. And I'm walking between the seats while the bus is in motion. And so I'm having to grab the seats as I'm walking because, you know, different things the bus is doing. It's moving around a little bit. And so as I'm grasping the seat, trying to head back to him, and I'm not running or anything. I'm just like, boy, it's like I'm coming for him. And all of a sudden, somebody or the kids yell, "He has a knife!" And that is what turned the tide on this situation. Thank God. So she did something to the bus. It was a lady that was driving. She was Miss Miles. This lady used to cook in the kitchen at school, drive the bus, and she had like a nursing dress on, like a white, like the ushers' dresses in the old school churches. So she was a bus driver and the cook at school, and could have been the usher at church. I don't know. This lady had like 3 jobs. Anyway, shout out to Miss Miles, wherever you are. Rest in peace. I'm sure she's passed away. So anyway, she was tough, man. There wasn't no guys that could handle her. She said what she had to say. You wouldn't even step in a person's face back then. You'd get your butt whooped by the teacher, the principal, and get whooped when you get home. I said whooped. Ain't talking about spanking. Shoot. CPS would have spanked you back then. But anyway, I ain't endorsing that. Made me what I am today, I guess. I don't know if that's good or bad. So I dropped the knife. And I dropped the knife. And I was already upon this guy. We had already locked up, if you will. So at that point, my adrenaline pumping. I'm half scared, half courageous. So at that point in my life, I realized a bully is a coward. And so that set the tone for me in my life to actually realize that a bully is just a coward in wolf's clothing. And so we locked up. We was like trying to slam each other, going side to side. And I found out he was so weak. Either that or I was hella strong because I was scared. Anyway, he was weak to me. And I'm just slinging him all around. He's kind of slinging me once or twice, but I'm mopping the floor. I'm mopping the side of the seats with him. We're still standing. So all of a sudden, we end up from midway of the bus. Somehow, she slams on the brakes when she slams on the brakes. Because I'm thinking she may think I still have the knife. So when she slams on the brake, me and him both, the momentum takes us all the way to the front of the bus, and we slam against the front of the windshield inside of the bus. And so we cracked that windshield. Thank God we didn't go through it. We'd probably got cut to death. And so the weight of us both cracked the windshield. We both got suspended. We had to. It's a balloon. My birthday party. So anyway, they suspended us both, and we were not to return until both of us paid half of what the total of the windshield cost to replace. I told my mom, I got a spanking. I think my stepdad beat my ass. And my mom, I don't know. Then he sent me to the field to either pull cane or do something, pick peas or something. I grew up doing that in Alabama. I'm grateful for that too, not to work with my hands. See, what my stepdad did, he was a demon too. He just wanted my mom for the goodies. Told her outright one day, why don't you can stay, why don't you just send the kids back down to your mom? That's what a narcissist would do. When they tell you as a woman, I want you, but I don't really want the kids. So, writing on the walls, guys. So, I'm in the field doing my thing. I'm punished. I didn't pay my pride. I had teachers who were saying that. A couple of teachers that lived on my road, it was like, one teacher exactly, she was like, if you want to stay after and make up work, I'll take you home, I'll bring you home. And I was like, all right, I'll think about it. For some reason, my stubborn self didn't take them up on that, so I didn't take my finals. What was I thinking? I think they were trying to help me pass and finish. So I didn't graduate. This guy gets out of school. We not graduate. We get out of school. He lives on my road anyway, way down far end of dirt road. I see him some instances later in life. I'm halfway not intimidated by him, but I'm going the other way every time I see him. He thinking about trying to still bully me when we get out of school, but that's all he doing, thinking about it. He never really pursues the ideal, and I'm good with that. So I knew at that point in my life, when you stand for what you believe, you'll make that bully think twice, just like you do this narcissist. So be thankful today for that narcissist, because they expedited and accelerated your awakening to this. So some years later, he got out of school, and I think we kind of pardoned each other. Pardon, like a pardon you get in prison. We forgave, I guess you want to say. We made peace. Because I always was leery of this guy. I never just thought he was some deer up here, guys. Hopefully give you guys a chance to see him. Maybe see him way down there. This guy, I just used to watch the way he moved because I didn't trust him, and nor should I have. So no more than you should trust that narcissist when they say, oh, I got a bag in the house, can I come get it? Nah, you pack that bag up and you make sure you give it to them. You don't let them back in that house. You don't give them entry, because these demons will plant cameras, dope, fentanyl. They'll put anything in your house and then call the police. Before you know it, you be up on charges, fed charges. Now they can get the kids, slam dunk. Trying to hump the deer. I need to get a hotel for that. Oh dear. Yeah, they took off. So he ended up getting killed years later once he got out of school. Still meddling with someone, poking at a guy that was kind of mentally challenged. The guy goes into this adjacent house, or this house that was near the softball field, and I've told you guys this before. Guy got that butcher knife out of these people's kitchen drawer, walked up on the bully, who had began to sit down and rest, because even the audience was saying, leave him alone. Bernard, call him Jomo. His name was Bernard C. Stabbed him in the carotid artery or something. And when they say that blood shot up 10, 20 feet in the air when he hit that carotid artery, and said he got up and ran maybe 10 feet, 15, 20 feet, and he collapsed because all the blood had essentially shot out of his body. You can't move with no blood in you, so. And they threw him on the back of a truck bed like a deer, like you would when you get a deer in the woods. And they said, take off, let's go. And they was heading to the hospital with him. And a lot of times back home, you got these long dirt roads back in the woods, and you got like 5 miles before you can get to the highway. And then when you get to the rural highway, you got probably another 20 miles, 30 miles to go. So they said when they finally got to the highway, they said, don't even rush. He was gone. The back of that truck had so much blood in it. So you've heard us talk about these narcissists. When they do an empath or a chosen one wrong, that karma catches up with their asses. And I told you about all the things coming up, wet in the bed, bully ended up, because of my confusion and my disturbances, in part because of my exposure to stuff that a young child really shouldn't be exposed to. It's like going through wartime situations over there where these children, where they're being bombed in Ukraine. That's why when you see people come from foreign countries, the children have this stare, and Americans think they hate them, or they're being racist to us, or they're being arrogant or being prideful. These adults who have come over here, and a lot of times young kids. That's why they have a maturity in their eyes and in their face when you look at them. And here we are, inferior of different things we don't understand. And I'm gonna say it, Americans, we can be better to people that come from other countries. But it starts with being better to you. Because of our upbringing, because of things we've been exposed to, because of the harsh disciplines we've endured, it's made us to be less than friendly and kind to people. And myself included, I've had my apprehensions in times past, but I determine myself to get to know people in a diversified way. If it's nothing but, hey, how are you? And so you'll find out quickly, man, that these people want to engage with you from different parts of the world, and they're just happy to be here, but they're very hesitant. They're very attuned, and they're very intuitive and cautious for things around them, because if they've grown up seeing their mother and father and uncles getting killed and decapitated around them, and they come over here and they see this world of freedom, move how you want to, but they're being looked at and ostracized with our eyes. We're shooting them down with our eyes. They don't know whether you're going to pull a gun. They don't know whether we're going to assault them. So they're steadfast. So keep that in mind. The Bible says, think of another more highly than yourself. And he says, those who are strong in the faith bear the infirmities of the weak. I'm talking to somebody, man. Because if you've been abused by the narcissist, how do you look being oppressive, both in your demeanor or otherwise, to other people? Misery loves company. Think about that. Don't be that guy. So anyway, got my sternum broke twice, once in prison. I ended up going to prison. I didn't tell you part. I grew up, went through relationships, got in some fights at home, just was a menace, man. Alcohol was fueling a lot of different behaviors in me that weren't my particular personality, but I was exercising these behaviors. See, we're never who we're supposed to be. If you've behaved badly in life, it is not you. That's not your mode. That's not your lane. And God has the mercy over you, because unlike the narcissist, that's the mode they're in. They're in beast mode. You're acting out and acting up. But they are who they are. From the time they wake up to the time they go to bed. The Bible says the wicked are deprived of sleep unless they've done something to hurt or harm somebody. That's the only time they can get rest, when they've harmed somebody. Keep that in mind. That good book got some stuff in there about the narcissist. Trust and believe. There's an evil, and there are just people that sin. There's a difference. We all sin and fall short of the glory of God. Why did God say this? He said, humble thyself in the sight of the Lord, and I will exalt you in due time. Who was he talking to? Talking to everybody. He was actually giving that memo or that announcement to everybody who have ears, even the narcissists. But guess what? The narcissists hear that. Humble myself. That means put myself beneath you. And the narcissists have this egocentric mentality. They not gonna, that's beneath them. No pun intended. So, sternum broke twice. I ended up getting married in '93, met my wife. She was a traveling nurse. Seemingly decent woman. Seemed like she had some good character about herself. She got hooked up with me. I kind of swept her off her feet, my persuasion. And we met in a club. I was drinking, so she's aware I drank. But to the degree that I had a problem with it, I probably was already okay with that. I'm sure I was. But indirectly, my auntie seduced me away from Alabama, telling me she had a lot of work for me to do at her house and around a couple other houses she had in Florida. And unbeknownst to me, looking back, I will always believe, and I think my mom did tell me at one point years later, that they got together and talked in conversation to get me out of Alabama. And they knew my aunt had the persuasion, because I looked up to her. She's my favorite aunt. And so a couple of my other aunts, they narcissists. And so When my aunt died, she said she was blind. I never got back to see her for many years, all my ups and downs, in and out of jail, but I definitely appreciated her. She was very influential in getting me out of Alabama, because at that time somebody was gonna kill me. I had no fear of anything or anybody. I think that repressed bullying that they had done to me and people had done to me by way of everything, just too much to even probably recap or remember, but it's always a lot of oppression that pushes us in behaviors that are not our true identity. So God is letting us go through it. He's letting us work it out. And so I ended up meeting her, my wife, who married in 94, met her in 93. So even before we got married, the domestic had already started with my first wife. I was married to her for 10 years. I have 2 adult, beautiful kids. They seemingly are doing good things. They don't reach out to me as of the present. I reconnected with them maybe 7 to 9 years after they had, maybe more than that, 12 years after I was discommunicated with them by way of the situation. Mom had me put out. She was sleeping with a state cop. I've said this before. I went to prison. Best thing ever happened to me. Because what happens when you keep going back and forth to county jail, what you're doing is you're accruing points on a point system. So I had so many domestic instances, most of which didn't involve physical. But once you're indicated one time of some physical altercations, and I don't walk back the fact that I put my hands on her in many instances, not proud of that at all, but I have to tell you the story. And I don't endorse abuse of any sort. A man puts a hand on a woman, you're a coward. You're a coward. And so that's what that was. And the mercy of God is what took a man like me and turned me around. So I went to prison for 5 years. I ceased drinking from that day forth. Never had a craving, never had an urge. And this is when all hell breaks loose. When you become sober and in your sober right mind, this is when the battle really begins with Satan, because he doesn't have to strive with you when you're already on his side. It's when you pick a side to do well with yourself and to do well in life. This is when he comes to steal, kill, and destroy. He was trying to destroy me when I was on his side, just like any mobster. They'll use you until they don't need you anymore, then they'll pull a bullet in your head. All these cults and gangs, you guys in gangs, you old heads that are gang affiliated, I'm here, I'm talking to you. They just using you, man. When you're no use to them anymore, they're gonna spit you out. You're gonna find up floating somewhere. Get it through your head. What the narcissist didn't do, they're gonna finish. And most of these gangs and cults and different things are comprised of narcissists. I've said it before and I'll always say it. So, got married. I was married 10 years to her. Ups and downs. So she stuck with me, kept money on my books. I stopped smoking in 98 in prison, the year after I was incarcerated. Went on to start learning. I learned to box. I learned to play bass guitar. But in prison, I got my sternum broke by my trainer. He's an older guy. Ended up hitting me too high. Was it too high? Yeah, too high. He was going for my stomach. I was swinging and hanging, suspended from a soccer net, and he hit me too high. And to this day, I want to believe it was an accident, but something within me tells me this old man wanted to see me hurt. The very person who trained me. If you saw my body back then, this is not capping, this is no bragging. My body was, and I'm a small frame guy. If you remember Apollo Creed, he just passed away. God bless the dead. You know they showed and emphasized his 6-pack, 12-pack case of beer he had. The way that guy's stomach, he was chiseled. That's how I was chiseled. And that's probably why I've been able to keep a fairly good physicality for, that from that time to now, because I haven't really worked out seriously and maintained for probably 15, 20 years. Swore off the energy drinks September 1st of last year. Praise God for that. When I will myself to do something, man, God has the ability to give me that boost I need. He rewards us for our tenacity. So anyway, got it broke in prison. Then I got my sternum broke again when I was in the county jail, while simultaneously fighting for custody of my children for the 6 years I fought for them. Oh, they got trash out here. I never knew they was throwing stuff like this back here. See, this is America. These things just need to be replaced. The wood needs to be replaced. And fresh coat of paint, maybe sandblast the steel. There's no rot in that. And this is what happens in America. We do this. We do this. You can actually upcycle these, repair them. I think I'll talk to them about that. Get the wood at my expense. And some of this wood is good. There's nothing wrong with it. And you can repurpose these, donate them to different charities. Even refurbish them and put them here in the park. You got a whole stack of them over here too. I've never been here all the years I've come to this park. So anyway, I'm back to the story. Got my sternum broken again when I was in jail, with the county jail with this guy. He tackled me, rushed me, as they say. And midair, I landed on my back on the concrete floor, and all his weight landed on top of me. And so, those are bleachers. They're nice. And so, that is that. He's been back here for a while, not just a few months. He's been back here for a couple years. So anyway, he broke my sternum then. And on and on and on. I just tell the stories because, guys, I really want you guys to get a good sense of the battles that I've endured. And you don't see all the stuff that God's brought you through when you're going through it. But when you look back, and today I want you guys to do that, if you're just fixated on what the narcissist took you through, I am inclined to believe you went through so much more. That was a nice little trailer, towed behind. Somebody got Home Depot card out here. I should go and tell on them. No, I'm just kidding. That's theft. And so there's a plow. So there is a whole bunch of things that you can look at as what God did to bring you out of your situation in a very beautiful way. Yeah, narcissists stole, they took, you lost, you went through it. But ultimately, it was for your good. God did not leave you for dead. The narcissist did. The narcissist left you for dead. And that being the case, if God didn't leave you for dead, he awakened you. So you definitely have to know this. You have to know that your life is beautiful and is valuable in the sight of God. And I don't know, I guess in all, that's really what I would hope that you guys gather from this video. Titled, the narcissist accelerated your awakening, but God's going to expedite your healing. So I hope you guys really did enjoy. Oh, this one ran almost an hour, but I'm definitely okay with that, and I hope you guys take the time just to sit down and listen to me ramble on and on and on, as I often do. I really don't know how to not encourage people, because when you know you have the gift of encouragement, you have to talk about you in order sometimes to talk about you in a very meaningful way, to let people realize where they actually are in their life. And you're gonna have to get out here and start capturing the moments of testimony you have and tell people. That's what a testimony is, to tell people the goodness of what God has done in your life. And it's going to be some real, seemingly tragic stories, unfortunate setbacks, a lot of L's, few W's. But all in all, you're going to capture the essence of what God wants you to share with that person. And there's a need. People need to hear that they're not alone in their struggles. And it's easy to get isolated and think that we got a bad deal in life. This is a gazebo, guys. I want to show you guys this gazebo. And so, I almost mentioned somebody who does their videos in a gazebo type situation, but I won't. Yeah, man, guys, just capture the moment, man, because once it's gone, you may very well not get it back. That needs to be pushed back up. I'm not gonna do it. That's a fixer for you. I see a lot of things in life, and you always want to get in and be a part of solutions. I like that. They got the newer lights, recessed, little small ones in there. It seems like it's been newly painted. It'd be nice if they had some concerts out here and little bands and stuff, but it's rarely that they do anything out here, and maybe that'll change this year. And so a lot of times they have parties out here. A lot of these parks are pretty much putting a stop to birthday parties in the park because people are so freaking violent and ratchet. The narcissists, they ruin it. They don't have just discussions, disagreements. They have full-on fights. They come to the park, set up the grill just to start gaslighting your ass. They gaslight before the gas put on the grill. And so, be of good cheer. God has overcome this world. Don't be overcome by your situation and circumstance, but overcome your situation with joy, happiness, reverence to God, gratefulness, a little bit of humility, determination, and of course, all that stuff put together, you can actually feed the need. Because there's some people out here that are very much in need of what you have to say, your presence, your story, you name it. So guys, I don't ever like to end the videos when I'm doing them like this, because why should you, right? We want to live in this moment all the time, don't we? But all good things come to an end. That being said, bless.